Alright, so to all the new viewers now, as well, who don't know what we're doing, this is pretty much what I consider as a Deep Analysis Monday. What we're going to do, this game was a game with my viewers, and they were playing against each other. So we're going to do an entire analysis on their item picks, their laning, their junglings, how their harassment is, how is their in general positioning, how's their bullying in a lane, clear speeds, every single thing as we possibly can. So I hope all of you will enjoy this, and I would advise you to don't ask too many questions while I'm doing this. I will try to answer the best as I can, but just bear in mind, nobody hate on that. Alright, so let's get started. I'll speed up a bit. Let's first of all wait until everybody buys their beginning items. Bear in mind, this is a game where let me pause it. This is a game where nobody has runes or master except for one player, and that's because he accidentally. This is the enemy team's, the blue team's Nami. He accidentally forgot to change it. Exactly like Toy. Exactly. Clearing speeds without actually having any masteries. So we'll see on that. Alright, so let's see. Come on. Some of you haven't bought all your items yet. Kazakhs, come on, buy your items. Buy your items. Kazakhs, why aren't you buying your items? There we go. Okay. Wait, Kazakhs had runes? No, shouldn't have. Full attack speeds. I hate this that it doesn't show, the amount of extra stats they have. This is annoying. This is annoying, really. Okay, right, so let's see. First of all, so let's look at our mids. Actually, let me put this into place. This, and this, right? So we have. Actually, let's put it like this. So top, mid, jungler, AD carry, and support. Alright, so let's see. First of all, let's see. So I think what happened was that Zed was figuring that he was going against the Teemo on top lane, so he went for a 9 potions 2 ward opening. That's a relatively okay opening, but I would say that on Zed you could also go for a red elixir opening. The thing with the red elixir opening is it does give it extra attack damage to make the kills more secure, and also if you're getting ganked, especially the enemy team had an aggressive jungler, which is Jarvan, a red elixir can also save you from certain dooms at some point. So a red elixir opening is usually something that's relatively common on AD casters or most top lanes at the moment that are based off of AD, but also a 9 potion opening against the Teemo would have been okay enough at this point. So it's a fairly okay opening. I would have personally gone for a different one, but that's completely fine. And as we can see, Kazakhs understood as well. Shen is not as aggressive as a jungler, even though he does very well. Went for a red potion opening because he's also an AD caster, and it also helps him survive and dish out the extra damage, so he went for that opening, which is completely fine. Exactly, I have to agree with R2D2 in the actual chat at the moment. The thing with Red Elixir is, if you pop it, it doesn't reduce the amount of health you get off of an ignite, because it's not a heal. You just gain the health actually as a max health, so it actually applies relatively well. It's kind of like a fail-safe as well if you're almost about to die. It doesn't always save you, but it does on most occasions. It increases your survival by, I would say, 10-15% maybe, approximately. So yeah. Alright, so let's see. Looking at the chat, because this game was supposed to be without any runes or masteries, and because it seems Nami had masteries by accident and runes as well, what happened was he completely didn't buy any items to make it even, which is completely fine by me. Alright, so let's look at our mids now. So Diana thought he was going to go against the Kazakhs, went for a boots and 3 potions opening. Now the thing with the boots and 3 potions opening was this was used to be something really common on Season 2. This was literally like really common. It was like one of the only openings you could go for on most champions, because movement speed was such a big issue. Then you know, it was kind of a must-have because the difference was noticeable. But now with the changes over from movement speed, the opening of a boots is kind of a rare thing. It's not really favored that much because sure, you gain a little bit of extra movement speed, but it's not that needed anymore, really. And considering that, I think Diana thought he's going to go against the Kazakhs, so let's consider that it was that type of a situation. Diana would need rather more sustain against Kazakh's harass rather than boots. Sure, you know, 3 potions help, but going for a flask to 3 potion opening would actually benefit him a bit more, actually. So going for a flask 3 potion opening would give you more sustain in the lane, and you'll be able to harass a bit more bullying, more last hits before you actually need to go back. And Timo, which was, I'll be honest with you, he was the one who was kind of a bit trolling this game, it seems. He went for, first of all, the summoner spells as well. Was Revive and Ghost. Completely something I didn't really expect. But he was low level, so I suppose it's okay, but really I didn't understand it. And going for a dagger opening on attack on Timo, not really efficient against someone like Diana, who probably thought of going against the Zed, and even against the Zed, it won't work because first of all, Zed will out sustain and out damage you. So in order to keep the farm up and the XP up, you would need to have more sustain in the actual lane. So only 2 potions, it won't give you much. And the auto attacks of Timo has relatively a low auto attack range, so the harassment will be retaliated by Zed because of that Ghost and also the Q range of the Shuriken. So this is a relatively bad opening, means that the lane is going to be lost quite quickly. But he thought he was going against the Zed, and even against he was going against the Diana. It's the same thing. Diana has a shield to mitigate Timo's damage, and he also has a range poke. And really, that auto, if you manage to get close with those auto attacks, it also does fairly enough. So Timo's gonna get out sustained and out harassed and out leveled and farmed already because of the beginning items of a dagger. It's not a decent like choice getting attack speed even on a champion who has, of course, you know, bonus attack damage. Not attack damage, sorry. Well, actually it is. It's a bonus effect on his all attacks of a poison. It's still not good because you can just auto attack harass, run back, wait for it to actually for the auto attack time to reset, and just do it again. So it's a completely pointless item to go. It's a really terrible choice at this point, which is one thing that R2D2 on our chat is saying as well, and I have to agree. Alright, so let's go to the next one, which is Jarvan. The summoner spells, these are... Actually, let me quickly go through the summoner spells as well before I continue with the jungle. Summoner spells, so Flash, Ignite, this is completely standard for middle, and as someone who's close and relies on burst but early game damage isn't that high, this is a completely okay opening. Zed as well. This is completely fine. Helps with his ultimate, even though it doesn't add the extra damage on the death mark. It still helps make sure it's a finisher. And you know, Flash is normal. Kog'Maw going with the barrier against a burst lineup like Sona and Graves. Going barrier is a really excellent choice because these two have so much burst potential. In order to survive it, you need that extra shield. It really helps a lot. Nami, Clairvoyance, this is a little bit, you know, something you don't see often. Without an exhaust, it will actually make it a little bit harder to go against someone like Graves, but they didn't know what they were going against anyway. So at this point, Clairvoyance does decrease the need for a ward a little bit, but still, it doesn't give you an excuse to not ward, but it helps Shen counter jungle at this point. Because what it is, in Season 2, or was it Season 1, I forgot, when Clairvoyance was used on most supports, it helped when you put it on the enemy's jungle to see which jungle has been cleared. So the enemy jungle would know, or actually rather, the other team would know approximately where the enemy jungle is going to be positioned at. And also helps their team jungle, better jungle, counter ganking as well. It's a completely okay thing, but it will make the lane harder against someone like Sona and Graves. Actually, no, barrier's not. It's becoming a standard, but still, some carries can go cleanse, and some still go ignite, and some even go heal. So still, sure, barrier's becoming a standard, but you have to understand, standard barrier is good on those who rely on range mostly. Kog'Maw relies on range, Ezreal relies on range, and those who rely on range, barrier is a bit more efficient. But those who rely on being close are better off usually with cleanse and ignite, because those who need to be close have usually more damage from that wise. So that extra damage always helps, but you know, that's kind of my personal opinion, that barrier should be picked only against those who have high bursters, like Zed, Kha'Zix, well, Graves is also, and all types of champions have more burst, then the barrier is a bit better. Right, but let's continue, and you know, Shen, Flash, Smite, completely normal. Now, this is something I actually didn't understand, is a clarity pickup. Sure, Graves is a mana costly champion, but the thing is, you need to use your spells efficiently. If you use your spells efficiently and not spam, you won't need that extra mana. And really, I actually don't see the point on this. It still would have been better, even a heal would have been better at this point. That helps your carry even more, or an exhaust. I would usually say one team always needs at least an exhaust. Yes, Sona does use a lot of mana. I completely agree on that, as you're saying in the chat. But understand this. This is why I capitalized the word efficiently using spells. If you spam your spells, then yes, you're just gonna run out of mana. But if you use them efficiently, the heals, the pokes, you won't need that much mana. This is what is considered as just knowing when to use your spells. This is something that you learn with experience as well, and we'll get into that in a bit to see how the spell usage is. Next thing is, I would say it would be still better to go for an exhaust, because one exhaust per team is always a good thing at least. This will at least shut down a carry or a 80 damage dealer for, you know, a few seconds, which can matter a lot. And as some people are saying in the chat, clarity will leave you invulnerable. Yes, that's true. And it really, this is one of the reasons why clarity is not picked up on supports, because it's not offensive, it's not an offensive spell, it's not defensive spell, it's just a sustained spell, and even that's not really that much. Right, so let's continue off. Graves, Ghost and Barrier. This is kind of a surprising thing. Why Ghost? Okay, Barrier's okay, but why Ghost? I understand, you know, it gives you the chance if you dash and then Ghost and run away, but the dash is unreliable, really, and the Ghosts is something that helps with repositioning, but the Flash is a bit better. As I understand, they're saying in the chat he didn't have Flash, so that's why he went Ghost. Okay, then it's forgivable, but I would say still always try to refer to using some other defensive spell. I would have said that even going Ignite. You have one defensive, which is Barrier, and then I suppose an offensive, which would be Ignite, would be a better choice. But that's just me. Next is Kha'Zix. Again, Ignite, Flash, completely standard because it helps with his damage and survivability. Jarvan, Flash, Smite, exactly the same thing. Teemo summer spells, this is completely like unusual, and I wouldn't even advise this because Revive has too long of a cooldown, and someone like Teemo, he won't be able to get back onto the lane that much. So definitely, this is something. Revive is really a strategic pick on competitive play with a competitive team that works well together, and not on a solo queue game on normal. It just won't work. Ghost and Cleanse, as they're saying in the chat, Ghost and Cleanse is a new thing that you use in the competitive play. Yes, it is something that is used in competitive play, because they know how to position and how to protect the AD carry, and with early Ghost, he'll be able to reposition himself a bit better before like actually getting all that insta burst damage out. So, okay, that's completely understandable at that point. Right, so let's see. And we'll Ghost again, Manraynor and Teemo. Flash is always a better pickup because Flash is a failsafe. You can flash over walls, you can flash over positions. Ghost on a champion who already has movement speed is not needed at this point. But okay, let's get back to our junglers. Jarvan has a completely normal opening. Now here's the thing: since this was a game without any masteries or runes, a cloth armor pickup it's going to slow down the jungle. Because that extra 10 damage, especially since you have no masteries or runes, that extra 10 damage is a lot. So actually, it will give you a better clear speed. So I would have said going for a dagger opening on Shen would have been far more efficient than going for a cloth armor opening at this point. Alright, so let's see. AD carries. Okay, Adoran's Blade works relatively nice with Nami. And yes, to some who are wondering, this was a custom game with the viewers. Those who are wondering, this is no high-level game from any pro tournaments or anything. This is with the viewers of people who want to learn to become a better player in League of Legends. Alright, so let's see. Graves. Now, a boost opening on Graves. So first of all, you have a Ghost already. So you don't really need the boots at this point. It would have been better if you since boots was a season 2 meta, early level. Sure, you get the extra potions to help you sustain, but you have a Sona. You don't need that extra healing. If you harass and do trades evenly enough, Sona will just heal you back. So you don't need these extra potions at this point. And I would have said going for a Doran's Blade or a longsword and 2 potions would be more viable than going for boots, because you're gonna lack on damage. And your last hitting is going to be a bit more iffish. And consider the fact that Graves is a AD caster as well. Going for that extra attack damage will help with his spells. So going for boots on a champion who already has mobility and summoner spells as well, meant for mobility, is a bad pickup. It's gonna actually make your laning harder. And with the supports, 3 wards, 2 potions. I think here's the thing, with the clarity opening, going 2 health potions, I suppose that's the reason why, but otherwise, with this opening, having my health potion, 1 mana potion is good enough. It would be a bit better, but since he had clarity, it's okay. And so Nami didn't buy items because he had runes and masteries just to make this even. Okay, right, so let's slow it down and let's continue. Let's slow it to 2 times. So let's first of all, let's see how let's wait until the team's fully positioned. Let's look at the positioning of the team. So Kazakhstan is going top. So this is a defensive positioning at their level to help the jungler. So people are here to help the jungler. Sona's covering this side. This side is not covered though, so here at least should always be 1 champion. Teemo should have actually been here at this moment to prevent them from invading. Even though this will help them notice an invade coming, but at the same time they can go this way and you'll be able to get a free pick off. And so let's see, and so he's going top. Usually top laner should try and speed it up and cover this area right here to prevent a jungle gank from here, even though they can also move this way. But quite often a red invade happens from this side, and then they go through here. On some occasions through here, and occasionally they go through here. But people are afraid that there's always going to be someone covering this side, so they try to go through a tri-bush because that's less actually watched at. We're a little bit ignoring Teemo because as he was advertising on the chat hacks, which is completely intolerable, and it's something I don't tolerate. Intolerable. Blech. The mouth is getting dry. Then at this point, I kind of put him into the fact that he was just trolling, which is something I do not like in a deep analysis game. But this is already went, so we'll just have to see. But as I mentioned, usually this lane's mid should have been here. Right, so let's see. Let's look at this side. So they have 2 people covering this entrance. I would have said since Zed is on Zed at this point, there's actually one better place for Zed to be. There's one way how you can kinda be ready for an invade top lane is when the top laner does it like this. He stays in this corner, but he constantly moves back and forth like on a patrol position, because if you go to this corner, you can see them coming from here and here, and if you move here, you'll be able to see them come from here and here. So if you move back and forth, it will give you enough time to cover both invade areas, and if you see them coming, you can easily escape the invade, and your team will be able to see it, so they know where the enemy is. So moving back and forth is better than just camping this area. Then you can camp this area if someone is at this position. Here, let's see, so they were covering this side. I would have said if one of the supports would have, or the AD carry would have been here to cover this side as well. If you're already going defensive, try to make sure you defend every single one of the openings to your side of the jungle, to see if there are any invades coming, so it will help prevent some first bloods or deaths, because that will make every lane fall behind usually because of assists, XP advantage, jungler having trouble because others cannot help them, and so on and so on. Right, so let's continue it. Let's see what happens. So he's just covering, moving back and forth, which is wise, just because there's nobody here, so he's moving back and forth, which is completely okay. And no, nobody went to cover here, so if an invade would have happened from this side, they would have been completely caught off guard. Alright, so first let's see. So they're helping them at counter jungle. He's finally here, which is okay. Right, so here's the first mistake I saw in the very beginning. Now, as I mentioned, guys, Timo probably was trolling at this point, but this happens even in ranked and in normal games. People don't understand. When you're helping the jungler, you're helping him like clear the lanes faster, so he won't take that much damage. He will be able to gank the lanes faster and everything. But look at this. So he's attacking, he's helping. He steals the wolf. So first of all, he gets more XP. Yeah, Jarvan loses. If we look, sure, he got a little bit of XP. Timo did as well. He should still reach level 2, but he's gonna have a harder time reaching level 3, which is usually the main point of junglers. And he also got the money, which is something that happens in competitive play, is that they let someone else out in the jungle sometimes get the money, but the jungler gets the XP, which is something that I've noticed. But I would still recommend get the jungler the money, because they have a chance to go maybe even early boots, so they can gank faster and everything. So let's continue. Okay, so first of all, this got stolen. Don't steal the big wolf. If you steal the small ones, that's fine, but not the big ones, because the junglers get less XP. Alright, so wait, I need to change this over to manual camera because this thing is messing about. Alright, so let's see. So he's helping, and here's the second mistake done by Timo. He keeps on attacking. So it's low enough. Jarvan at this point, with this low, which is 166 health, Jarvan can easily kill this without any issues, and he won't need to use smite, which means he can get the red faster. But he steals the blue as well. So they both got the XP, but no blue and no buff on the jungler, and taking this much damage, which Jarvan has 3 potions left. This is gonna really mess up his laning, like his jungling speed completely. This is literally gonna ruin the jungler. He's gonna be incapable of ganking for a while. So this always, if you have champions that have poison damage, he didn't even have poison, but let's just say you have someone like Darius who has poison ticks. Make sure that you stop attacking. So by the time the golem or the actual, well, the golem or the lizard is almost dead, by that time the poison has definitely expired. Alright, so let's see. And here they're helping. As you can see, he got it, so he got the XP as well. He got the buff, so he has a better thing at this point. Right, so let's see. Let's go back. We saw how the junglers did. So in the meantime, while every lane is going back, let's look what's going to happen at the top. Okay, so this last hitting. One thing I can usually advise, considering that the clearing speed of junglers who do get their buffs, I would say that they usually tend to gank at the a little bit after the 3-minute mark on top lane or mid lane. So if you have a ward, I would advise you the latest time to put the ward up will be about 2:30 to 2:45. But in order, if you want to put the ward up without ever leaning the lane in the next 3 minutes, then the best time to put the ward up while still getting the XP and the possible last hit would be about 2:08 to 2:13 would be the approximate time we can put the ward up. One moment. Right, let's see. Let's continue from here. Right, so last hitting. Everyone's last hitting. Now, the reason why this is to those players who don't understand why people last hit. Last hitting is meant again for the fact that if you keep hitting the creep all the time, you have a higher chance of not getting the actual last hit. The reason is that if you don't get the last hit, you miss out on the gold, and that's the difference between that one creep that you lost and the time of you being base buying your items and waiting for that money means you're losing out on XP, you're losing out on money, because the creeps will die. You'll get later onto the lane. It will make everything harder for you. So always try to avoid hitting the creeps until it's almost dead, and then get the last hit like this. So because you are able to not push the lane, because if you hit the creeps constantly, you gotta understand they're taking more damage, which means they are gonna die sooner, which means the lane's gonna be pushed out. For example, if you would be constantly attacking the creeps will be here at this point, which means that you're gonna be near the creeps, attacking them even more, and the enemy can gank you. The jungle can gank you. You have a higher chance of dying. So this is one of the reasons why try to always last hit the minions as much as you can. Alright, so let's see. We'll look at this for a bit, then we're gonna go back and start looking at the other lanes. Alright, so let's see. So one of the other ones as well we currently have watching the stream at the moment is also a dominant level player, so he also wants to put a few words out. And his argument is pushing the lane is you're making your creeps hit the tower. Sure, it does damage to the tower. That's one thing, and the enemy will lose creeps because the tower will obviously kill it a little bit sooner. Yes, at the same time that is true. He will lose out on the creeps, but you have to understand, constantly pushing it will give you less chance of bullying your opponent to make sure that you can freeze the lane. Freezing the lane means that you're denying them of XP and gold because you're outpowering them or out-sustaining them. You cannot bully an enemy that's under the tower. Sure, with some champions you can, but you have a risk of getting a tower hit, and if you get too many of those, the enemy will have a higher chance to kill you because you're already low enough from trying to harassing him under the tower. So at the same time, if you push it, you don't have a chance to bully him in the actual lane, because at this point he has a lot of space to bully a Kha'Zix out of his lane. So that is one thing, and obviously again the jungler can gank more in this situation. So let's speed up a bit. So they're harassing each other, farming. The lane is pushing in Zed's favor. Okay, so it seems that this is going to be completely normal. So let's go back a bit and let's see what's going to happen. So this was after the blue was stolen. Let's go bottom, and then after that we'll go mid. Let's go back one more time. And as I mentioned again, it is hard to freeze a lane against the Zed. That is true again, but it still can be done. It's rather hard, but it still can be done. Let's see, so a ward was placed here, just to give vision when they're actually hugging the brush. He missed the last hit on that. What at this point is completely normal because no one has runes. A lot of people have low attack damage and everything. Let's see. Now he tried to hit the Q to harass. So let's see here. Wait, let me actually go back a bit. I want to see how did you exactly take that much damage. So you go back. He harasses. So he does damage. Okay, he missed that. So he just he did some harass and he got some back. So this is completely normal. This is pretty much just harassing your opponent, and obviously this is the golden rule. If you harass your opponent, do your best to harass them back or damage them back, because if you don't, they will win a free 60, well 50, 60 such damage on you, which can make a huge difference later on, especially if one of you survive with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 health. If you would have done that harass to him, it would have actually would have killed him on the spot. So always try to make sure that you do exchange, because if you don't, that means that they're out sustaining and out harassing you, which means you're gonna have to be in a more defensive position, and you cannot go aggressive that much. You cannot harass them as much as you need, which means they will have a better position. They will be able to out damage you and take more like harass towards it, and they'll be able to freeze the lane, because one team will be low. Let's just take into consideration purple team is going to be low on health and the blue team is going to be full, which means is that they can just be here on the front while the creeps are here and just completely keep harassing you, and you will lose out on XP while they won't. So always try to make sure that you actually do trades with your opponents, so they won't be able to out sustain the actual damage and everything. So let's see. Wait. Actually, let's go back a bit. I know there's something. He's doing the harass. Okay. Okay, no, actually, I thought I actually saw one of the minions die. Alright, so you're constantly auto-attacking some of these normal creeps. Now, there is no reason to do so unless you have something like a Doran's Blade, which gives you 5 health back on hit, or in case you have a Vampiric Scepter, which means you're just getting health back. But if you attack the creeps without actually getting any real benefit from it, like lifesteal or something like that, you're gonna push the lane. But at the same time, it seems that they're doing the same. They're pushing it. So it's kind of, in some sense, you're counter pushing it. And the thing is, as far as the player who was playing it says that he was just keeping his passive up. Sure, it's a good passive, but this does not give you an excuse to actually push the lane. Because if you push the lane, as I mentioned, you have less chance to harass because they're gonna be under the tower. You're more prone to ganks from mid and jungle. It's no worth really keeping up a passive, because you also gain this passive when you get damaged. And if you just last hit, trust me, the passive will stay up. Even if it goes down, it will always come back up again. So there's no point on that. Right, so let's go back for a moment. I noticed one thing, and I want to see how much damage he's going to take. So if you look at the lane, here's one thing. As you saw, Sona was harassing, did a Q, and did an auto attack to proc the bonus damage. Now here is one downside. Look at where you're harassing the opponent with the auto attack. You're in a position where the enemy's creeps actually have, the range creeps first of all have a range on you. So if we slow it down, okay, luckily this was only 2. But understand this, when you're harassing your opponent, never harass your opponent in between his creeps or where he has the creep advantage, because the moment you auto attack an enemy opponent, the creeps will turn on to you, and the creeps do a lot of damage on the early levels. If you look here, he hit Kog'Maw for a quick moment. See, he's getting attacked. The creeps are turning on him. So let's see how much damage it takes. 1 cannon minion, 2 cannon minion hits, the range, and the melee. And he only did 1 auto attack, so he went from almost 300 health to 150 with just 1 Kog'Maw hit with 59 attack damage. He almost took almost 100 damage from creeps. just because he was staying near him while he was actually auto attack harassing him. So now he's repositioning himself, so it loses the aggro, but he lost the trade. So alright, let's continue. So harass is going out, getting vision. He's healing up from the potions. Okay, right, so he's harassing. Now, sure, this is a relatively decent harass position. Sona got his Q off, and Graves is in quite a decent position to actually use buckshot. So let's slow it down. Let's see. So he does his buckshot, does damage, falls back, Sona gets hit. This trade would have gone relatively a little bit better. Okay, yeah. First of all, let me finish. The damage Sona took from minions is not as substantial as it would have been, but he still took a little bit because he went in while the enemy had a creep advantage. So you're already fighting at a disadvantage position, because if you would fully go out, the blue team would win because they would have the creep damage. These creeps would be equivalent of 100 to 200 auto attack damage. Actually, maybe a little bit less than that. Let's just say 80 to 160 per every one of these hitting you, which is a lot of damage in addition to theirs. And their creeps won't be able to reach you. And right now, okay, so he flashed into safety. It's completely fine. He almost died though. This was relatively close, but see, creeps are for focusing Kog'Maw, and this Kog'Maw took about another 70 attack like damage from just the creeps, which is quite substantial. Right, so let's continue. So they reposition themselves behind their creeps. Missing last hits at the moment is completely normal because of no runes and masteries. But always, this makes you better at last hitting. So let's see. And as R2D2 we have in the chat is saying, as against the Kog'Maw, they have the zone out. Kog'Maw doesn't deny him farm, which is true because Kog'Maw has decent range. It's completely understandable, but also still it doesn't fully give you an excuse to go into the enemy while they actually have the creep advantage. It helps, yes. It always helps with whoever you go against to deny them of any farm. With some it's harder, with some it's easier. But you have to understand that at some situations, if the enemy has a range advantage, they usually should have a damage disadvantage. That's usually what goes with most champions. If they have range advantage, they don't have that much of a damage advantage. But there are always exceptions. Right, so let's see. Decent damage. Graves was at a advantage point because of Sona heals and everything. Kog'Maw at the moment nicely baited the barrier. It soaked up most of the damage and still has most of his health remaining. And with Nami and Kog'Maw doing the damage back to just Graves, Graves was forced to back off. So this trade relevantly at the moment went in favor of blue team, even though both of it was kind of risky. Still went quite well. Okay, right, so we've seen bottom lane enough, so let's go mid. So we're going back a bit. I think here's where it was. So Teemo came from blue. Yeah, and as someone stated, at that point, since Graves had no potions left at that stage, and he was also out farming Graves, which means Kog'Maw was focusing more on like farming the creeps and harassing backs, like a harassing back, which he was doing relevantly well. So if you actually learn to farm and also harass your opponent, then your laning will definitely go better. This is one thing that's kind of a disadvantage with a boots opening, as he says as well, which I have to agree on. Alright, let's see. So Teemo was just completely derping at this point, so we're gonna have to ignore him. Just moving around between lanes, stealing farm. So Diana is just farming the lanes. Nothing really special. Let's continue. Let's look at mid for a while. Let's wait until, as you can see, team is just absolutely doing nothing. So he's just pushing. Team was losing out on so much farm. And Dream Dancer, no. This is not a ranked game. And I will safely say, since I haven't seen you on the stream before, I welcome you to the stream. I hope you enjoy as well. Feel free to ask questions, as everyone is. But understand, this is a custom 5 versus 5 with viewers. Bear in mind, people, this is a custom 5 versus 5 with viewers, and this is not a ranked game. This is pretty much to analyze each player's laning and capabilities as a player, and tell them of their flaws, their weaknesses, and what they could have done better. Alright, so let's see. Let's continue. So, he's pushing the lane a little bit. It does help Diana roam when he gets 6, when he gets the tower down. But I personally don't usually push lanes this much. But he's keeping up with the farm. Right, so let's see. So Jarvan went middle. As someone stated, a ward was not placed by the top lane, and it's already at the 4th minute mark. This is relevantly quite bad. The jungler at this point, what the enemy can do is this: the enemy team will tell them that they haven't warded yet. If you look at their items, you look, do they still have, at the very beginning you look, do they have a ward? Yes, they do. You keep occasionally watching them. Have they put out the ward? Yes, no, yet no, they haven't put out the ward yet. You tell the jungler immediately, top lane has not placed his ward yet, which means the jungler has a free access to actually gank. And also, one thing as well, if you look here, since Kha'Zix started with a red potion opening, he already used it earlier, and this potion is already gone. And if the time of the potion was 3 minutes, if I presume correctly, and this is almost over, so he placed it approximately, literally when the laning started, he actually used it. So this is one thing. Try to prevent from using elixir unless you need that extra damage, or you need that survivability, or if it's an all-in fight. If you see that they're doing an all-in ignite, potions, auto attacks, everything, then put it on. On an all-out fight, or if you need to survive, or you think you need the extra damage, then pop the red elixir, not during laning phase. This is the whole point of red elixir, and the player who was playing says that he misclicked. Understandable, but this is just for future reference then as well. And the fact that the ward was not placed, again, very easy to gank, and even though Zed just now placed his ward, so he was vulnerable to a gank from Jarvan for pretty much 2 minutes, and he wouldn't have known. But even though Zed can easily escape, still ward. And at this point, the positioning of this ward, let me talk about. There's 3 positions on top lane where you can ward. Well, actually 4. First is in the corner of this brush. Then there's a little bit farther ahead here. Then there's in the corner of this, near the Baron pit. And then there's the tri-bush. So let me explain each of these warding positions. If you're on the offensive, if you're pushing your lane, then there, let's just say we'll take Zed's position. So we're on the blue team. So then there is a total of 3 positions where you need to ward. One is on this position. If the enemy is out pushing you, you can place it here, because it seems that at any time soon you're probably not going to push it under his tower anyway. So then you can have a ward at here to be defensive of a brush gank, or you can have it here in the corner to see if they're coming just a little bit more ahead. And then there's the tri-bush as well. But here's the thing, putting it here on this corner or tri-bush is mostly when you're on the offensive side, if the lane is pushing in your favor. Then place the wards there. Because if let's just speed up for a moment. I don't want to go back. Let's just speed up for a moment. Let's see. So it seems the lane is pushing a little bit more in your favor, because Zed is usually a pusher anyway. But at the moment it seems that actually Kha'Zix is pushing. So I would have said that putting the position like a little bit here, as he did, I would say put it a little bit on top, on this corner exactly. So let's see. So putting it about here would have been a bit better. Usually this is the most common position. when sometimes the people put the wards here is to see if they're directly coming from the blue position or even if the mid is doing an early gank. The only downside is you're prone to a gank from this area, but quite often junglers move from here, from this location to this way, so they can see it actually. In this point they can see a gank coming, but it's a hard time because you cannot see if they are going this way. You don't know if they're gonna gank mid, if they're gonna go counter jungle, or if they're gonna do a big circle and just go here. So it kind of is not really the best position. I don't usually prefer putting it here, but you can if you're on the offensive side. Like let's just say purple team is pushing, putting it here will give you quite an early vision from the jungler. So then it does actually help. So let's see. Right, so we have a few people as well talking in the chats. Oh yeah, from the lane, and you can do some extra damage, but other than that, at the moment, putting it here wouldn't have given you any advantage. So I would say still put it on this only if they're constantly pushing the lane. Then it is beneficial to put it here. But I would say on this position it would have been a bit better. Alright, so let's slow it down and let's go a little bit back. Alright, so let's see. So Timo's back. He's all attacking the creeps. It's pushing the lane, but Diana's doing the exact same thing in return. Not that much. So Timo's technically out pushing the lane because the fact that the enemy creeps die faster, he has more of a creep advantage, is going to push more, which means sooner or later Timo's going to be more prone to a gank. Let's slow it down. Actually, let's speed it back up. Nothing that special. He's trying to counter the push. So let's see. Ward was placed. Let's look at the items. So a tier of goddess on a Kha'Zix. This is usually most common indeed, just so you can keep up the harass and sustain. Completely common item. Don't have anything against that. Jarvan went for a ward though, which is kind of interesting. Could be because he was afraid of getting counter jungled. Which a ward, if you're afraid of getting counter jungled, or if you know they're getting counter jungled, then yes, buying a ward and putting it in your jungle entrances will help, because it will give you a vision when they're going to counter jungle again. Give you a chance for the mid and the top lane to help you. In addition, with the jungler, do the 3 versus 1 situation. So this will put them probably behind if you get a kill, and also give the your team a bit of a better chance. So always, if you're getting counter jungled, buy one ward and put it somewhere at your jungle entrance. It will give you a vision. Alright, so let's see. So the normal items. So now Graves went for Doran's plate. Okay, right, so nothing really that special. Alright, so let's continue. Okay, they're farming. He's pushing it a bit. Okay, right, so here's one advice. Now, let's look. Let's go back for a moment. Let's see at the point where Kha'Zix went back to base. Let's slow it down. Now let's see, how did Kha'Zix go back to base? Alright, so he sees he's gone, and he knows he's out of mana. Alright, so he's going back. He actually didn't see that this was just a glitch. So at this point, if you know that your enemy is gone, push the lane. Push the lane as much as you can, and Zed is doing it. He's actually pushing the lane as much as he can. The reason why it's actually good to push is this. So if an enemy goes back to their lane, you can push the creeps under their tower, so the tower would do a few hits and they would lose out on the creeps and the XP, and this will give you enough time for you also to go back to the lane. Because here's the thing, if one opponent goes back to their base, then it means that you're gonna have to go back to base quite soon enough, especially in the early levels, because they're gonna have an item advantage which can like pretty much equal to a death in the actual game. Like in the actual lane, because they'll have an advantage over you in item wise. So at this point, if you would just push the lane as much as you can, let's see, let's speed it up. So he's pushing. So he sees Kazakhstan back with full mana and everything, and as you can see, he pushed the lane. And at this time, the reason he's going back is, first of all, he can get the items he needs as well to counteract Kazakh's items. He'll be forced to last hit these, and by the time his creeps in the second lane, usually it's the third lane, you need the extra 2 waves in order for the creeps to actually reach the tower, and that's definitely enough time for you to go to base, buy your items, and get back to the lane, so you won't lose out on that many creeps. So he goes back, right, so jungler is now tried to gank, but he was gone. Oh, he's just completely messing about. Right, so he's farming. As you can see, this demon was completely derping around. He's just derping around, so he's already 2 levels behind. Looking at the XP bar, is 4.5 levels. This is huge. No matter what mid lane you play, if you're behind a level and a half and the opponent hits 6, you're gonna have to be on the defensive until you hit 6 or the optimal time as well to go in, because they have a relatively high chance to kill you. It's one of the reasons why this is like, for example, because he was derping around, he was missing out on the XP. I was actually missing out on the XP and everything, and this is what happens if you go back in the wrong time, for example, and lose out on the golden XP. You pretty much lose out on the actual levels and everything. So this is a perfect example why you need to go back at the perfect times when your lane is pushing the enemy tower and everything. This is just one of the main reasons. Just one moment. Talking so much makes the mouth dry. There we go. Okay, right, so let's see. Will Diana go back now to buy his items? And he's not. He's still planning on farming. Okay. Okay, right, so we got a first blood. We got a first blood, guys. Let's see, how did it happen? Right, so since just recently Graves went back, he got himself a Doran's Blade. Let's look how much gold he has at the moment. But Kog'Maw, he started with a Doran's Blade and he instantly went for Vampire Scepters. He has the damage and sustain advantage already because he went for early boots. Because Graves went for early boots, so you have extra bit of mobility, but you will not out sustain a Kog'Maw with a Vampire Scepter. Let's slow down. Let's see what goes here. Or what goes wrong here. Right, so we're gonna wait a little bit until everybody hits 6, and then we're gonna look at their leveling on their skills as well. Right, so at the moment you try to harass and trade, but they want to trade a bit more because they have kind of a setup and damage burst potential more than Sona has at this point. Wait, let's go back a little bit more. Let's look at how much you actually took. Where was the main source of damage? So it's here. So you're already down to 450 approximately. Creeps in favor of you. So Graves tries to harass. Let's slow it down. First of all, so the fact that Nami missed her stun means that the amount of damage you will take is already going to be reduced. But as you can see, you went back, and Sona, who's a bit squishier than you at the moment, even though it's a support job to tank as much as he can, he's going to take the full force of damage from the heal of Flow and Ebb that Nami has, which also returns damage. Let's slow down. He got the hit back. Kog'Maw does is auto attack with his W plus his slow, which is a lot of damage to Sona. So this trade was won by Kog'Maw and Nami. Right, so let's see. Approximately here's where the first blood should happen. So let's see. So this was missed, which is a shame because this is a really good spell. So he gets damaged and Kog'Maw gets healed. This is one the benefit of Nami. He heals and does damage at the same time if it's close enough. So always when going against the Nami, try to understand this. If it seems that they're doing his ebb and flow, which is the small tidal wave that heals and does damage, if he uses the heal on an opponent, you need to try and see when it's approximately going to come, because it does have a small cast time until it actually hits the ally and the enemy. Trying to make sure you notice it and go back when they're healing their ally, and or if they're damaging you. Alright, so let's see. So let's continue. So he's trying to heal up a bit. Clarity was used. So again, alright, so what happened? Kog'Maw saw the perfect time because his wait, why does it show that? It shows it's activated. So since his Bio Arcane Barrage was activated and he actually had the damage advantage over someone as squishy as Sona, the moment he got harassed, he went in and he got himself a first blood because of that, because they have more damage. And I have no idea at the moment. Oh, right, so let's see. Let's go back a little bit, slow it down. So after he got hit with that stun, he knew he had the damage advantage. He jumped in. Now here's something. So you're getting her. So your support's dead. If your support is dead and the enemy has this much health, whatever you do, just fall back. You should have just started running backwards immediately. You need to fall back on that specific moment, because there's no way in hell that you're gonna out damage a alive support and Kog'Maw. Right, so here's one thing. You popped your ghost, okay, understandable, because your positioning was already wrong. But here's the thing, you activated barrier. Barrier lasts for 2 seconds, and Nami did not auto attack you. He waited until he got the bonus damage on her, and just waited until the barrier actually went out. So you probably panicked here. A little bit of panic. So what you need to do, you need to wait until that auto attack animation. If we slow it down a bit, let's wait until he dies. Let's wait. He goes. You did everything correctly. You dashed back. You should have popped ghost, dashed back, and just started running. Now look. So you're getting damaged. You pop. Okay, this was the nice try to defend against Kog'Maw, but here's this. So you should have waited until he starts to auto attack. See this animation? Let's slow it down. You can see it coming. If you would have kept the barrier, you would have used it now. You would have defended the hit, and since you had Ghost, you would have been able to outrun, but Shen would have picked you off anyway. So at the moment, this was just a little bit of bad play from Graves. He should have just started running backwards. And so that's how those two died. A little bit of mispositioning and underestimating the enemy damage. Okay, so here's some action going on. Let's see. Well, this was approximately when Zed got back. Let's wait. Let's go back even more. So, alright, so those two got back on the lane. So he's just waiting for the last hit. So they both hit 6 approximately at the same time. He evolves his spikes. They do their damage. Okay, right. So this is Zed full initiation. Yeah, I know. As I mentioned, actually, Execution 92. It seems that you're one of the new people in the stream. I haven't seen you in the chat before. I welcome you to the stream. I hope you enjoy everything, and if you watch for a longer period, I hope you have enjoyed as well. But as I mentioned, this team was really trolling and derping at the moment, so we're kind of ignoring him. I know it's not really the best thing to do, but we'll get to him on a few occasions. We'll focus on the other ones. Right, so let's see. So here's the smart thing. Zed used his ultimate. So that was one thing. So that was a sign of a full out initiation. But Kha'Zix played it smart. So the moment he got hit with that ultimate, he popped his invisibility, and he could reposition himself. So this ultimate actually completely is wasted, because Zed cannot do his full damage as he needs. So he understood this. Zed understood this, so he started to fall back. So at the moment he tried to escape. This is on cooldown, it seems. Starts to fall back. Okay, burn flash. Well, not really necessarily burned, but used it to survive. This was relatively nicely done. Then the gank was on time. The gank was nicely timed, but just barely enough to kill. Kazakh sees, okay, he's not dead. Flash and W. Execution. Yes, very good. And he's gonna survive it. Now, here's one thing: if you're gonna tower dive at this low level, understand this. If Kazakhs would have kept running forward at this point, it would have been a higher chance that another tower hit would have gone through. If you're gonna try to escape a tower range, always move crossways, closer to the jungle wall. You have a higher chance of actually the tower going out of range, because the range should be approximately, let's say, something like this. So if you think of it this way, if you keep going straight, you're going to be in the tower range longer. But if you keep going a little bit like crossways, you're going to get out of the tower range faster. So that's one thing you can use, what knowledge you can use to tower dive. So he uses potion, survives with barely any health, but with the potion, he's okay. So at the moment, the Kazakhs outsmart Zed while using his ultimate just to escape Zed's burst damage. So that was fairly nicely played, right? So okay, so that's, and the creep's gonna push. Kazakh's just gonna go back. So this is completely normal. This was well played by top. Right, so let's continue. Diana, I have no idea why you're ganking at the moment. Maybe it's to defend the tower. It's okay. Farm. Okay. So, even though you didn't really need to come here, but I suppose because the lane was pushed in your favor. The lane was actually pushed in your favor, so you have time to gank or go back. So you just choose to gank, which was really not needed because it was too late. But it's fine. So you go back, buy your items just to be back on time to get back on the lane. And since the lane was pushing in Teemo's favor, Shen went there to intercept some minions just to get level 6 faster and just in general get levels. So if it seems that the mid is not going to be anywhere near mid anytime soon, and the tower is most likely to get most of the creeps, then you're okay to go to the lane and actually just harass the creeps a bit. Well, not harass, but actually kill the creeps or get the XP. But if the mid's gonna be back in just a little bit, and the creeps are not near the tower range yet, just leave the creeps as it is. The mid needs to farm as it is. So he's just pushing. Right, so let's see. So bottom lane is back, and that's one of the actual people on the chat are asking. I'm gonna have to see if at that time if I will stream. I might, but it's something I'll have to check on. Right, so let's see. Wait. What happened here? So first of all, there's a minion advantage. So using the brush to prevent their aggro. But how did he get damage from a Nami that's going back? How did he get so much damage? So you see that he's porting back. First thing, creep damage. Second thing, stun. Third thing, ebb and flow. All that damage, and you just harass someone. And here's one thing: if you're gonna harass a person who's going back, that auto attack would have been enough, and then you just fall back. They're gonna fall back anyway, so any harass that you actually do is not gonna matter. He's gonna fall back. He's gonna get his life back again. You just took so much harass at the moment. You'll be forced to heal, and you'll be forced to spend mana just to get yourself back on the way that you are. So let's see. So Graves is farming. Okay, right. So it seems approximately most people at the moment are gonna hit 6. Right. So let's look at each of the players' skill leveling. Now let's see. Diana's maxing out Q First, Q is good to max on Diana if you're going against a range minion. Oh, not minion. I apologize. A ranged champion. Then it's better to get maxing out Q. But if you're going against someone who's melee, then it's better to max out the shield first. But it's fairly fine. You did everything correctly. Next thing, Z, maxing out his Q just to... The Q is a little bit more damage in the end, because technically if you have 3 clones up with your death mark and your W, 3 shurikens can hit, so it does more damage, but you know, Shadow Slash does more sustained damage at this point. But more burst comes out with Q, and it's completely fine. Even if you get zoned out, you can use it to farm against someone who has a range poke. It's completely fine. Right, next one, Kog'Maw. Maxing out W, which is his main damage source and gives him increased range, and also the slow. I personally do it like this. I get 1 level of Q just for the extra slow amount of attack speed, 1 level of slow, and then by Arcane Barrage. But this maxing out slow second is completely fine as well. It's again a matter of personal preference and opinion. Ebb and flow because of the heal and damage. This is standard. 1 level of slow is enough, 1 level of stun is enough, and then just for the extra heals. And Shen maxing out his Q for the extra sustain, completely normal. I don't even know why I started that, but right, so let's see. So now, since you're getting harassed more, you're actually leveling up just to keep up with the harass and to keep up with the sustain. You're leveling up these equally, and 1 level of movement speed is usually enough on Sona, unless you're dealing with champions who have really good chasing potential. Then it's better to get a 2nd level of movement speed early as well, but at the moment this is relatively nice. Right, so Graves maxing out Buckshot, which is good, his main damage source. 1 level of this, 1 dash, fine. Kazakh standard, leveling up his spikes, and 1 level of everything else. Jarvan, leveling up his standard. Now this could, yeah, it gives it a little bit of armor and attack speed, but I would say it actually is better for more damage. I would actually go for Q first. I would max out Q first because of the more damage, and also in ganks that armor shred is a bit more. And I think if I recall, the cooldown gets reduced as well. So actually, maxing out Q is a bit more beneficial. I suppose since you were behind, so you're trying to get more armor and attack speed, but the amount of armor and attack speed you gain is actually gonna be not that big, really. So I would say you would have been able to clear the jungle faster with maxing out the actual Q first. But let's see, and Teemo is... Well, if this was a normal team, let's say like this, he's level 6, no leveling up in his ultimates, which is already always level up the ultimate, unless on some specific champions where leveling up the ultimate is not really beneficial. Let's see, where are you? Yeah, it was a mistake. But okay, alright, so let's continue. So that's in regards to the leveling of these spells. So let's see, let's look, farm. Nothing, harass, push, nothing new, farm. And again, more harassment bottom. So it seems bottom lane is going to be probably the key point of this here, because both seem to be rather aggressive. Alright, so let's see. So, wait, did she even go back? No, she didn't even go back. Huh. Okay. Well, I suppose with these items it is completely okay. I'm not going back. How much gold did Nami have? 1k. I would have said actually it would have been better if you went back and just went to get a sightstone, because the extra health helps as well against the burst team. That's first thing. And the second is those wards. They do help, and it makes you save a lot of money as well in the future. But it's just mostly that extra health you get, and also you can get back the harassment that you took from Soda earlier. So let's see. Let's slow it down. So we got just trying to harass and heal. We'll look at the goals as well in a bit. Let's see. So lane's being pushed in the favor of blue team. So he's harassing, taking damage. Sona's taking a lot of damage. So the ultimate was it was nicely positioned actually. That was in a relatively nice position, the ultimate, but because it doesn't do that much damage without any bonus attack damage really. Well, actually no. Why does it say 0 when he has 2 Dorans? Nah, must be spectator bug. But at this point, it would do a decent amount of damage, and it's also kind of a disengagement method, because taking a huge burst is also a nice way to make the enemies disengage. But it wasn't really that needed. I would have said if they would have been even lower, then it would have been good. But so you were still committed because Nami has no mana really. So this is something that you were abusing, the fact that Nami had no mana. So this is actually a relatively nice harass you're doing on Kog'Maw. But yeah, Shen. You see that? You see a barrier pop up as well. No, there's no way in hell you can survive that. This was relatively nicely played, I'll say that. But yeah, it's just the Shen was rather a surprise for you. Let's see. Right, so bing bing bing, banana phone, ring a ding ding, ring a ding ding, baby. Right, so let's see. So Shen's going back. There's still now what it is again. You want the lane. So what Kog'Maw's doing is pushing the lane, so the enemy will lose the creeps. Graves is still here, a bit overextending, and got picked off because of that. Right, wait, so we had someone who died, which was a wild Teemo died, so how was that? So, full initiation from a Diana that has multiple levels ahead. The Teemo again, I'll say, was trolling and derping. Now, here's one thing, I think he starts spamming chat with WTF. Yeah, spectator bug is spasm, or this. I think it's just a bug. I think he might have said it only once, but spectator mode is just doing it multiple times. Now, what it is first of all, there's no point in going like WTF and oh my god because of the amount of damage Diana did. First of all, Diana has burst and she also has sustained damage, so this is completely normal getting bursted down. He spammed it, really? Looking at the time frames, according to people in the chat, he actually spammed it, and those who played. On time difference, I actually don't know if he spammed it non-stop. Okay. If he spammed it, then first of all, don't really spam these type of chats. There's no point in doing so. Understand that, he got bursted down. It's completely normal from a champion who has burst potential. So don't be like, oh my god, I got damaged so much. You need to understand your enemy. Understand what their champion does. If they're a burster, be prepared. If they're gonna go all out and burst you down, you need to be prepared for it. Stay back until you have enough sustain damage or survivability to survive the burst so you can retaliate. Then take that risk of getting that close, but if you don't, just stay back from out of range. So he gets hit, he revives. He just revives and is wasting the movement speeds. Totally pointless. Let's see. Alright, so they're getting the dragon because first of all, the enemy Graves died, and also their support was on his way back. So a 4. Even if they're mid with game and their jungler and their support, 4 versus 3 is not going to work. It's actually not going to work at all. It would be rather suicide, so better not to contest the dragon. at this point, unless Jarvan would have known that he can smite steal it, but he was nowhere close because there was no ward vision. The ward was just placed, so they didn't even know. That's the first thing. Let's see. We continue. So there's harassment going on. Kha'Zix is doing most of it. So let's see. Damage. Harass. Alright, so he's ganking. But because of the fact they saw it from a ward. Okay, right, so let's see. First of all, sure. Kog'Maw is relatively fed at the moment. What happened was that he does have double buff and he has a elixir. So actually going that far of trying to harass, especially when you're half health, trying to harass a Jarvan is a relatively mistake. Even though Zona doesn't have ultimate, it's kind of a mistake. And yeah, he died. That was right to a free death. Kog'Maw almost got him, but still. So let's see. So there was another death, just because the fact you shouldn't have really attacked, you should have just fallen back. So let's see, he's giving a blue. He's just doing derping around. Top's nicely harassing the Zeds with spells, but maybe a bit too much. Right, because that was relatively close to the tower, and you are out of mana, so you're gonna have a little bit of trouble at this point. But since Zed doesn't have really any mana, you should be okay. And you saw the gank a little bit too late, so he's coming in. Yes, you kinda, I think at this point, Flash was down, and actually you could have. So you decided to go for the kill. You actually could have escaped that instead of actually going to like kill him in return. But you know, it was fair enough as well as it is. So a kill for a kill, but you know, an extra assist. Derp. Okay, let's go back. Let's see what happened here. So first of all, purple team tried to harass, and with the harass, blue team tried to retaliate. But as they saw, they were taking a little bit more damage because of the Sona ultimate, so a few free hits. But Nami's doing a really good job at keeping Kog'Maw alive and everything. Superman, no, do not, guys. Clicking that link at the moment that is posted on chat by Superman, watch it at your own risk. I will not touch that again. Because I had a bad experience while I was doing all-nighter. My senses were all extra sharp. I clicked that link and I had a heart attack. Watch it at your own risk. Alright, so let's see. He's doing the harass. Nami's trying to be a little bit on the aggressive side. So is Graves. Right, so this was let's go back a little bit. So Graves is still trying to harass and damage him as much as they can. Sure, the ultimate is going to come as, it's not going to kill him, but it was about a valid attempt. And here's what it is. So Shen decides the ultimate to try and protect Kog'Maw, but what it is, here's one thing that Kog'Maw did well. So he saw the Shen ultimate, and he knew he had enough health with the shield to survive any damage they have. So he decides to flash in closer to allow Shen to taunt him to get those kills out. And yeah, there we go. There's another kill. So Shen's doing really a well job of actually, if you actually like looking at the bottom lane and going in at the correct time. So this is the second time that Shen helped bottom lane a lot. Oh, this was really well played. It's just getting the wards. So farm. They're trying to farm as much as they can. There's already a goal, relatively huge goal difference. 17, so pretty much a 4.5k difference, which is a lot. So let's look who has the most. Who's the one who's behind on farm besides supports? Even though Nami is right at the moment really doing well, has a 1.3k advantage, which is really huge. But other than that, it seems every lane except top on purple team, top is the only one who's out farming Zeds. Alright, so let's see. But other than mid, mid's derping, so it's free farm anyway. Jungler's doing a bit better because of those extra assists. Those 2 assists probably gave him enough gold as well. So yes. It's relatively a big gold difference at this point. But also the dragon as well, so here's another one. Okay, and the towers, there's none down. Alright. So let's continue. Top's winning. He needs a gank. She's calling for assistance. So they got the tower. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure some people at the moment have watched, or who watch the stream, or who watch tournament plays in general, know that they always try to get mids down quite as fast as possible. The reason for that is, if you get down mid turret, you have more chances to roam the enemy's jungle and start stealing their buffs. It's one of the reasons why mid is quite often focused a lot, especially when you're pushing lanes, because mid opens up the jungle a lot already as it is. And so let's continue. So here's this farming. Right, so it's 13 minutes into the game. Let's look at the farms. Diana's been mostly free farming. It was fairly decent. Could be a bit more though. Shen for jungling, okay, and quite normal as well. Kog'Maw, relatively decent because of the amount of action going on. Zed is getting pressured, but he's still keeping up his CS as much as he can. Fairly decent. And Nami, let's not even talk about that. It's a support. Kha'Zix is pushing the lane and winning it. 2 kills and 75 creeps. I think the amount of creeps could be a bit more. I would say that if it's like this. So if your jungler is ganking or at the bottom side of this jungle and such, if you're on the purple team, you can, after lane's push, you can freely go for golems and then come back into the lane, because by that time the lane's pushing a little bit back again. So try to always, occasionally get the jungle if the jungler is not even going to be nearby in the next minute or so. So that's something that'll give you just a little bit of extra farm. Alright, so Teemo's just being blech. Right, so we have someone in the chat asking, isn't it smart to just not destroy the tower and just keep pushing the lane and gank other lanes? Yes and no. This is a two-sided coin, and one side is more valuable, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is this. So first of all, if you destroy a tower, you have more area where you can roam around. That's point one, which means you have better ganking potential and less chances for the enemies to be safe around a specific area. That's one. Second of all, everybody gets gold in the team, which means the entire team gets a gold advantage. Third is, if you win a team fight, you can push the lane faster to the inhibitor, and occasionally even finish the game completely if you have less turrets up. And sure, you can gank the other lanes in return, but still, eventually you need to destroy the nexus. Eventually, you need to destroy the towers and the inhibitor anyway, and the nexus. So you just in general get more map control if you just destroy the towers, and the enemies have a less safe area to be at. So that's why it is better to push the towers. The thing is, if you leave the towers, for example, sure, you'll have. If you don't push the tower, sure, you can gank more, you can counter jungle, but you should understand, if a tower is up, if you gank, the enemy has more chance to go to the tower and be safe, and you have a higher chance of dying. So that's one thing I can definitely say. So, and I have to agree with one as well. It says that yes, it does limit your farming a bit. Right, so let's see. Let's continue. So Jarvan's trying the best as he can to farm, even though he's really behind as it is. Even though he has 1 kill and 1 assist, he's relatively behind. Right, so let's see. So, as you can see, you pushed the lane, he ganked, and Kha'Zix was forced to burn a flash. And in that, it's a good thing he burned the flash with the gank itself, but still, you know, at this point, since he burned the flash and he was relatively low, what you could do, let's see if you do it, is push this lane to the tower. But no, you don't. You see a jungler, and Kha'Zix is trying to defend it, but at that low HP against a Diana, it's not really that smart. And as some of the viewers regarding the towers again, I will say that it regards to every single lane and not just mid lane. The reason for it is the more towers that are down. I think let's take it like this. Let's just say every single lane tower of purple team is down except for the inhibitor. That means that the entire enemy team has this whole area where they can farm, gank, and in general put pressure. That means that the purple team doesn't have that high of a chance to get the jungle creeps and their buffs. They have a more of an area they need to walk to get to Baron and get to Drake. They have less map control, and the ones who control the map control have better options to gank and better chances to siege. So in general, it is way more beneficial if you get the towers down. That's what the tower is an objective, and I've told as well in the stream to the old viewers who know, getting objectives in the end is the key point. Objectives, towers, drakes, and burn. It's not the kills that counts, eventually it's the objectives. Right, so let's see. So they kill them. Jarvan tries to gank, but you know, these two have enough power as it is to kill him because this Jarvan is under leveled and doesn't have those items for him to do damage or survive that much damage. So he just disengaged it. So that's only it. Right, so they push the tower. Right, so now what it is, the game it's already one-sided at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna slowly start looking at the ways possible team fights are gonna happen, and also if there's too many skirmishes and everything. Right, so let's see. Let's slow it down a bit. So 2 towers are down, and so the blue team has this part of the map available for ganks, and also they can put this part a bit, but you know they cannot. And this top side of the map, it's not theirs. Right, so let's see. They cannot be here because it's between 2 towers. Sure, they can be here, but it's too risky. So it's getting these. Let's speed it up. So everyone's going to buy their items. They're trying to farm as much as they can, and the game's going relatively one-sided. So again, Teemo just got assassinated because he's just completely derping about. Push, 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 trying to farm. I want to see, right, so again, Drake is they got Drake, more objectives, more golds, and gold advantage just increases to the one team. Alright, so let's go back. This I saw earlier, and this is fairly nice play. Right, so let's look. So, he has a ward here, but he doesn't see that Shen's coming. But he's still being rather on the defensive side, you know. Here's first thing. So he saw, and let me explain what happened. First things first. He saw that Zed is ulting, and since a Kha'Zix who has a leap upgrade and an invisibility, it was one of the worst times for him to ultimate because he can escape. Because Zed needs to be close to you. He actually needs to do damage to you in order for that ultimate to be efficient. Now Zed saw Shen was coming, but he should have waited for Shen to gank first and then put on the death mark, because then he has a higher chance to actually do damage, because he forced him to use the leap, but that force means that these clones cannot do damage. Let's see if it hits. So only his Q hits and the rest don't. So this is huge damage that just missed in like together with the actual death mark. As you can see, he only lost 1/3 of his health on that. So let's see. So they're trying to actually beat the Kazakhs, who still has an ultimate stack and everything. But this was kind of a failed tower dive because Zed went in too early. Zed should have waited for Shen to hit the taunt. If he misses the taunt, then yes. If he misses the taunt, don't even put the ultimate on and just disengage, because going against the full HP Kazakhs, it's quite hard. You could have done it, but I would have said that only if the leap was already used. As it was, then go out. And Zed got a little bit too scared and he started hitting the tower, even though Shen was tanking it. So there's just multiple different things that was done wrong by them, but he held out the tower dive very nicely. Right, so let's see what happens. Let's put up a normal. So they're still trying. Oh, he's just going back and, you know, completely uncontested. Shen using the ultimate again to help in the team fight, but unfortunately the ultimate was a bit late, but I suppose he tried his best. He escapes, pretty nice. Okay. Alright, so let's see. Teemo again, derp, 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 herp, 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 smurf. This Teemo was trolling at this point, so kinda ignoring that. Right now, somebody mentioned one thing on the chat that actually got me another idea. So let me explain one simple thing. If you're a jungler or a laner, and you get help from the lane or the jungle, so who is better to give the kill to? So if a jungler is ganking the lane, and the kill is secured, it just depends on who does the last hit. It's better to give the last hit to the actual person who really needs it. Let's give this. Let's say you have a jungling Jarvan or a jungling Volibear. Those two champions benefit from mobility boots so much. If you give them the kill, they can get their mobility boots up faster, especially if it's very early in the game. That means that they can gank every single lane even more efficiently. But if it's a lane that is easily snowballed, like Darius, could be Aurelia, not that much Aurelia, but Jace, those who can snowball very easily, then it is better to give them the gold just to get their snowball up and running faster. So that's why it's a little. You really need to consider on who you give the kill. Don't always kill steal, because getting kills isn't always the way you can win games. But if you give the money to the correct champion who really needs it, then give it to them, because they will love you for it. Obviously, if the other one cannot kill the champion, then yeah, sure, you just go and get the kill to make sure it's guaranteed. Otherwise, it's just a complete waste. Right, so let's see. He tried to harass, says forced back. So at the moment, blue team is trying to just get as much gold as they can. But the map control is still on the map control is on the blue team. Purple is just trying to get actually all the fun it can get. So I messed up there. And purple team has ward coverage. Right, so regarding the ward coverage. If you're behind and if you're on the defensive line, then put wards mostly to the entrances to your jungles. This is pretty nice warding from Sona. One here, one here. So the two entrances already covered up. And here as well. Here probably wouldn't have needed. Maybe here would be better at this point. Maybe a little bit closer so you can see it coming at this distance. But other than that, and then put one here, you have your jungle covered, so you can get your jungle creeps, and you can also see possible ganks and stuff like that. And blue team could use a few more wards. Okay, this is a relatively offensive ward, so if you're in defensive, obviously, trying to keep it on their jungle. Completely normal. So kill is here because of the map control on the blue team. It seems one of the most stable lanes were top. Bottom was holding, but they eventually died. Diana's farmed because he's been just roaming around and just farming as it is. A little bit like 128 for a mid 20-minute is okay, but you probably could have been a little bit better. And even Kog'Maw as well, being that ahead, you could have a little bit more farm, but still it's relatively nice. Oh, God damn it, wrong button. Alright, so as at this point the game is already becoming so one-sided. They're sieging the tower. Let's see. So they're trying to defend as much as they can, but without graves, yeah. So they tried to initiate, so an ult failed. So they're still trying to get as much farm as possible. Diana missed. What? What the hell happened here? So let's see. Let's speed up a bit. So getting the creeps. Right, so you see the graves, you're relatively low. You know you can take graves on if you hit that. You can. But this was pointless. This flash was pointless. If indeed Jarvan had an ultimate available, it would have been better if you just waited for him to go in, ulted you, because you had enough health. You had about 1k health, and that was enough. Wait until he goes in, ulties you, and then you flash up, because then you make him use his ultimate as well, which is level 1 is 84 seconds, obviously not as big as Flash. But at the moment, this was just a random defensive flash that was completely unnecessary, and at this point, Jarvan still has a spell. So if Jarvan would go in on you at the moment with his ultimate, you won't have a chance to escape. And so one of the people in the chat says as well, people who play Jarvan, they don't usually ulti unless they know that the enemy's flash is off. So let's see. So push, going in. Jarvan just escape, normal. Again, another tower down. More map coverage is open. More map control in general is open. So trying to defend against the sieging that they're doing. Teemo gets picked off. Oh God. Just being out of position, but you can't contest this. And push. And right, so again, right at the moment, because there was a sieging going on, let's go back a bit. The sieging was going on. This tower is something that can't be defended. Wait, actually no, you actually could have defended, but Jarvan got a little bit sorry to say, a little bit pussied out here at this point. What Jarvan could have done, they had, first of all, no creeps. Second, so that means that they have to tank a tower. Now, here's the thing. If someone's tanking a tower, if you initiate, they will not focus the tower. They will focus on killing the rest to get them down. And the tower has free shots. And yes, one of the same graves was bottom. Yes, it's understandable, but consider the fact that there is still a Jarvan ultimate and a Sona ultimate available, and there's a Kha'Zix who does have something, but actually not that many damage items. How much gold does he have? It's kind of weird. So at this point, if Jarvan would have gone in, they would have messed up their focus on not on the tower, but on the champions, and Jarvan could have locked them down with the ultimates. Sure, there probably would have been a high chance of losing the fight, but understand this is already a lost game anyway. And in a situation where the game is lost, what are they gonna do? It's a lost anyway, so you might as well give it a try, right? This is what I would say. Sure, in a situation if it's even, then yes, they wouldn't even siege like this. That's one thing. And if let's just say one was top, let's just say both teams are even, and one is top and they're sieging the tower, and if it seems that you cannot hold it, sure, let the tower fall, let them get the inhibitor, defend the twin towers, maybe see if they try to rush the Baron. So just so the fifth guy will get there, so you can all work as a team. But you know, as I said, the goal difference and everything, this is so one-sided at the moment. Do it like suiciding, it's not gonna do anything bad anyway. And pop. So Shen tried the ulti. Let me get the inhibitor. Graves is one way back. Teemo is AFKing now. So Jarvan almost died. Nothing much special here. Teemo's just completely derping about. Trying to get Kha'Zix. Nice hit on that. Picked off Teemo. Yeah, exactly. Well, this game, as someone to say in the chat as well, this was completely one-sided from the very beginning. I would say on the 7-minute mark because of Teemo, really. So there was no real middle. And the jungle was messed up as well, and bottom lane was not doing that well. But let's just say if the jungler would have had more farm and everything, then he would have been able to gank bottom a bit more and maybe balance it out, because top was doing relatively well. So that means that the enemy jungle will be forced to camp top a bit more, and purple team's jungle can again help middle and bottom a bit more. So then it would have been way better at this point. Well, okay, let's see. It's going to continue. Speed it up, they're just getting buffs. I want to see if there's going to be a team fight again. Okay, right, so let's see who and how got picked off here. Right, so first of all, Sona was out of position. Let's go back a little bit more. So place the wards. He tries to go for next ward, but he gets hit. At this point, if you see a Shen, you just run. You can put the ward up at any other time later, but just run it. There's no point. Sona gets caught. Teemo gets caught by tidal wave. Ties again, 2 down. Tried to surrender. Even I would surrender actually at this point, because there's no way. At the moment, it's so one-sided. There's no way it could have been won. We're sieging the tower. But fine. So they're just pushing the towers, making sure that advantage is up and going, because there's 15k advantage, which is rather huge. Again, Teemo, some Jarvan died. Finish off Sona. Diana's just been pushing. I'm taking a kind of consider this is game already as it is. Go. Two. Form, but everyone's still trying their best as they can, because I've told everybody in the stream don't surrender, only in very rare circumstances. Fight. Now they're probably gonna yeah, Baron. With a Kog'Maw this fed as well, Blade of Rune King and Vidic. And one thing I have to agree on, as one said in the chat, purple team hasn't fought as a team, like fully grouped up, not even once. So okay, you can consider this kind of grouping up, but they're defending. Sona died again. Oh, actually no, it's the previous death, I think. So Nibber is back. They're trying to farm as much as they can. Now they're probably just gonna come and steamroll mid. And yeah, I think this is when they surrender. Is it? No, it's live. So it's not surrender. Is just gonna finish. They're gonna finish off everything. Every inhibitor's down. Blue, purple's is completely underleveled, unfarmed. So like I said, this was lost from the very, very beginning. And there we go. The game's over. Okay, right. So before we conclude this analysis, now it's time for questions. So everybody who has a question about something specifically to this game or the analysis, feel free to put the question into the chat and I'll answer them. And I can safely say some others might assist as well with that. And we can just go back and look at some specific place if really needed. Right, so let's see. If I had to say either a early top turret or Drake, I would have to say it like this. Usually when a team goes for Drake, there's a relatively high chance, if the entire team is there gonna be there, that if you can get the Drake, it is good, but you need to see if you can actually prevent the tower from going down. If the tower has full HP and the lane is pushing in your favor, and then you move to Drake while your team is maybe just starting it, if you get there, if it seems that the enemy team are not going to contest that, then don't go for Drake. But if it does seem that in a situation that you're gonna have to sacrifice top turrets for a Drake, top turret is okay, but another mid turret, whatever you mid turret is definitely not, because losing a mid turret will give almost half of the enemies, pretty much the enemy's jungle is going to be completely open. So in this situation, if it's a top turret, then I would say it's better then get the Drake and let the top turret fall rather than any other turret at this point. That's what I would say. But what's going to have to happen after Drake's after you have Drake? Then you just need to go push the lane and try to push the enemies to top turret down in the meantime as a next objective. Otherwise, if you go for the Drake and the enemy's top turret is already down, then it's completely okay of a trade. Alright. And to some asking if we're going to do another game, unfortunately no, it's not possible. I have a team as well I need to practice with and everything, so unfortunately I'm going to have to play with them for a while. So there's not going to be a next game. And someone asked about, this is the fellow Diamond player as well, thinks about a Doran Shield and the AD carry. It's really hard to say, actually. I would say maybe on champions who rely more on their spells, which don't have that much of an AD scaling, as Kog'Maw, for example. It actually could work because Kog'Maw is ranged and he's better on a defensive position rather than an offensive position like Graves. Maybe on him it actually could work. And some say Urgot. Urgot is a possible choice, but other than it doesn't work on most. That's the thing. I always personally say I personally wouldn't go for it. Maybe it could work if it's gonna be a lane where going for Dorans, but you're gonna get out harassed. If you're gonna get out harassed, or you're rather more on the very squishy side, and you don't really have a chance to hit creeps to regenerate from the Doran's Blade 5 heal per hit, then it could be a bit more beneficial to get Doran's Shields. But it's really something that I haven't practiced with, and I would need to actually try it to see how it works. Alright, but any other questions from any of the viewers? Alright, well. Well, in this situation right now, it seems that there's really not no further questions. Or actually, no, wait, there is one. Right, so feel free to ask away. And do probably a few more questions, and then we'll close this game, and I'll discuss what's going to happen after that. Alright, so one of the questions: play the Ruin King or damage? Which one is better? I would say really it depends on the enemy's lineup. If the enemy lineup is based on champions who are better with health and who have a better chasing potential or disengagement potential, I would say then it is better to go for Blade of Ruin King. But if the enemy is mostly squishy and don't have that many ones who can chase that well, then I would say it's actually better to go for damage. It really depends on the enemy's setup and what do they have and what do they focus on, and also which type of champion you're playing as well, really. Right, so if you get counterpicked in lane and get bullied, how do you keep up with the farm or harass? That is a really nice question. What do you do in those type of situations as this? So first of all, that means that you're already losing lane. So mention to your jungler you'll need a gank. So that's step one. So they know they'll have to gank that lane at one point. Second is this: you'll have to think, right, so what does the enemy need to do in order to freeze you or harass you? Does he need to use spells? Does he need to use auto attacks? So you take that into consideration, then look at your kit. What do you have? Are you ranged or are you melee? Do you have ranged spells? Do you have sustained spells? So in this situation you have to consider all the options that you have and the enemy has and start using against it. Maybe you need to use your spells and actually waste your mana just to make sure that you get enough farm, because you're melee and you can't get anywhere close, but you have a ranged spell, and you can use that to farm. That's maybe one thing. If you have a spell that maybe sustains you a bit more, like Kha'Zix, what you can try and do is wait. If the enemy is melee, if they're gonna start harassing you with an auto attack, you do a W on them on close range, which heals you, and a Q, and you just fall back. Let's take an example from the same person who asked that. He played Nasus and got counterpicked versus Riven. He kept up the farm with the Siphoning Strength, but ran out of mana, and he had nothing to do. Right, so in those situations, what you need to try and do, as always, ask for a gank. Second of all, you have one spell, which is your E, which is kind of AoE ranged. If the enemy is kind of delaying it that much, you can, at that point, that means they're mostly going to push it. If they're not pushing it, you have to rely on your E, and just try and occasionally take the available jungle creeps that you have, just so you would get enough sustain or survivability to survive his burst or sustain damage, and just do everything you possibly can, even if it means that you're gonna take an extra few hits just to get that farm, just a small bit of farm that you need for that one item that will help you in the lane. Go for it. Take that extra harass, use a wither on the actual Riven to slow his attack speed so the passive doesn't proc that much, even though he's a caster, but still he relies on his auto attacks. Get that Q, get that farm, and just run back. But mostly you'll have to rely on the jungle, and occasionally, if you get harassed that much that you can't even farm, just go and gank. Just go and gank. That's one thing. If you don't have anything you can do in your lane, just go and gank. Once, twice, try the best as you can. Get the jungle creeps. Say that, is it okay? Gonna take these jungle creeps? If it is, take them. Go and gank. Try to use your spells, and if it really is that bad, let the tower fall and just then start farming. But mention to your team, you're behind. Riven's roaming now. Just don't go into full team fights because you need to farm up. As long as you communicate with the team, should be fine. If they're flaming, just ignore it. Try to farm as much as you can. Go to team fights, and that's it. That's the best advice I can give, because that's what I do. Okay, I think we will conclude this stream pretty much with this.